Welcome to this episode of the Smarter Business Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk to people who are doing interesting things with video. If you like the content you're hearing today, if you find it interesting, please share, like, subscribe. We're on YouTube and all the major podcast platforms. Today, our guest is Alex Sheridan of Impaxs Marketing. And Alex, it's great to have you on. I'm sure a lot of listeners have seen you around LinkedIn. I will give you a chance to just go ahead and introduce yourself and your company.
Well, thank you, brother. I'm excited to be here and talk today. I am the founder of Impaxs Marketing. We help entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and large businesses convert creative video content into clients.
That's the most important part, right? It's not just about making the video.
It's nothing about making the video. It's about can it convert the clients and build a brand over time? Yeah.
And actually, you said the magic word there, brand, right? I've had this experience in my own business. And I had it when I was setting up the notes for this podcast. Your personal brand is so strong that I had to go look up the name of the business, even though it's in every one of your videos you put out there and everything. How, I guess, personal brand over company brand, or how they relate to each other. I don't know. What's more important to your average user?
Yeah, I mean, and it depends on, the size of your company and how you operate, right? Because a solopreneur their personal brand is pretty much going to be the company brand, right? Because you're one person and you're a company. So how different could they really be, right? You're telling a story. Your brand should be telling a story, and it should be positioning the client as the hero, right? Not you as the seller, the hero. But the personal brand, and let's say you've got a company or maybe you've got a few team members, the personal brand is a reflection of that individual. Okay. So it's like the reputation, what they're known for, their core values, how they represent themselves, again, how they position their customer. But the personal brand, the company brand has to run parallel with that. So that's how I always explain it. It's like, look, you've got your company brand, like Impaxs Marketing, my company. We have our brand. We have a vision. We have a mission statement. We have our core values. And we have the brand story that we're trying to tell to the world. That when it was just me as a solopreneur, it all just ran together. But now that it's a company, we've got people, it starts to separate out. So the brand story and the message and how clear you are on that becomes even more important as you scale, because it's not just you anymore. You've now got a team, you're onboarding, you're interviewing. Do the people who come interview with you, do they get a feel for what the brand is? Do your customers still get that same brand experience, even now that you're 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people? You went from 5 to 10 to 20 clients to 100 clients. Is the brand story still there? Is the look and feel still there? So the farther you get, the more you scale the company, the more important that company brand really becomes. But again, the personal brand has to run parallel. So for example, Impaxs Marketing, our taglines, unleash the creative. We just believe in a world that people wake up every single day and they're empowered and excited to unleash their natural and inner creativity to live a more empowered and fulfilled life. If I hire somebody, I wouldn't hire somebody, but if I did, that didn't believe in that their personal brand ran like this and our company brand ran like this, it wouldn't make sense, right? I couldn't hire that person. So I need someone that at their core believes in what we're doing. Their values align. They believe in service to the customer, open and honest communication, unleashing their creative. So that's how I see those two fitting together.
Excellent. That's that's a great answer. That's and you do see it in larger companies, right? Where either they deal with it in one of two ways, but when people are doing personal brands on, say, LinkedIn, they're either, telling them each word that they're allowed to say and what posts they're allowed to put out there, or people are maybe going a little off course, and you might have
Yeah.
instances where somebody says something that's not in line with the company brand.
Well,
So that's a great point.
and that's a great point too. And that's even more important why the brand story and message has to be clear to every employee that's part of the company. Because if they're not clear on it, if leadership hasn't made it clear, it's not really that employee's fault if they go out and say something that doesn't quite align. If they're ultra clear and the whole culture is built around that brand, than it is on that employee if they go out and say something. The leadership has to talk to them, have a conversation. So again, it's a lot of employees, I think, are out there building their own personal brands, their own reputations, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of times there's no company brand behind it. So they're out there kind of doing their own thing. And you want people to, unleash their own creative and have their own personal spin and perspective, and they've got their own stories to tell. But again, as long as that aligns with that bigger brand for the company.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I usually ask people to boil down what their company does to one sentence, right? I gave you a chance to kind of go through the service list and like talk about it. If you had to do a an elevator pitch type of thing, one sentence, what do you all do for people?
Using
And
creative video content to help you, the business owner, turn your prospects into clients.
perfect. That's perfect. And I do think you were able to get that in last time, right? So
Well,
that works well. Yeah.
yeah, it's important to clarify that message, right? Some
Yeah.
people are talking and talking and talking. It's like, I still don't know what the heck you do. Or I scroll through their LinkedIn profile and I'm getting ready to have a meeting with them. And I'm like, I read everything on your profile and I still don't quite know what you do. That's if you confuse your audience, you're going to lose your audience. So you've got to be crystal clear. So get rid of some of the cute stuff that doesn't, I helped, there's a certain time and a place where you need more of the feelings, and it's less black and white. There is a place for that. But in your elevator pitch, in your headline, in certain areas of your about section, you need to be crystal clear on who you serve, what you do, and the results that you get. And again, positioning your client as the hero of that story.
Excellent. Yeah. Well said. Um, I don't have a great segue here, so we're just gonna say,
Let's roll.
let's do it. We're going down to the notes. One of the reasons that I wanted to have you on this podcast, and I thought you were a great fit, especially for this month, is our main product is the Vidwheel Creator Network, where we bring together solopreneurs and small business owners, and we teach them how to use video to grow their businesses. And this month, October, is Video Strategy Month. You all uh, do some great work with strategy, and you can tell just by the content that's coming out that you have a plan. So, the way I've described it is video strategy is the most important part of video campaigns that isn't video. Do you think video strategy is important?
Yeah, you got to have a strategy if you want to actually work for you long term consistently. So the first place you go with just the video strategy is just basic stuff like, what are you trying to accomplish? What does good look like? Where are your customers at? Where do they show up at? So if you're posting all these videos on TikTok and none of your customers are there, it probably doesn't make a ton of sense, and vice versa for LinkedIn or anywhere else. So you do have to think about, where are my customers? Where do they show up? Where do they congregate at? And then I'm going to post up there and I'm going to create amazing content that they care about, that brings them value, that helps them solve problems. So I can position myself as someone that is trustworthy, that is credible, that is likable, and that's going to eventually convert to clients. So you get past all that. And then you have to think about like the in-depth or the strategic, like the in the weeds stuff. Like, where's the content going to come from? Where's the video going to come from? So there's two ways to create video content. One, you can create it from scratch. I could sit down and say, all right, I'm going to hit record. I'm going to make a video. I could pull out my phone. I'm going to make a video. Maybe it's entertainment, maybe it's edutainment, maybe it's a serious one, a storytelling, whatever it is. Or I could take clips in documentation and live events, interviews, podcasts like this one.
Yep.
I could take Zoom calls with your team. It doesn't matter. Client coaching calls, whatever it is. I could take those and I could sort of repurpose those into actual content. So if you want to save the most time, that's a great route, right? I do a little bit of everything. Just I'm always testing and trying different things to figure out what works. But certainly I think it's one thing I think that gets lost with content creators nowadays is being dynamic. Like, oftentimes people will just show one side of them. Here's my silly side. I'm just every day posting about whatever. Like, I'm going to try to connect with you as a human being. Or people go too serious. Here, I'm Mr. Expert. I need to show up today, and here's top 3 things that are going on in my industry. And look, that could be great content. But if all you're doing is showing up as like buttoned up and like Mr. Serious or Mrs. Serious, you may be missing out on some of the human connection type things. And you need to tell more stories that invite your audience in and tie it back to what you do in your brand. And so you have to think about that as is your content origin. Where is it coming from? How are we showing up? Who are we showing up to? And how do we turn that into actual customers? What's the path to conversion? Certainly people can reach out to you when they see it, but are we putting maybe call to actions in the comments? Are we thinking about how we tell a story to relate it back to what we do? So there's some strategic things in there as well.
Excellent. Now, I want to swing back to where we kind of you started your comments there, and you mentioned TikTok, right? Uh, as a general rule, do you find that it's best for folks from a strategy standpoint to focus on a platform or a platform or two, or is it, you know, try and hit every platform and see what sticks, or because everybody's on TikTok, to get on TikTok, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, and you'll hear a lot of times like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But is that really true though? Like, should you not put all your eggs in one basket? And here's my take. I think, look, you can, if you're one person, unless you have a giant team, you can only be so many places at so many times. And we know with a place like LinkedIn for sure is that you can't just post and coast and roll out and expect your content to blow up in 3 months. You do have to engage to a certain extent. You have to get to know people. You got to build relationships. You got to reciprocate. You got to give. When you give to people, the algorithm knows you're on there engaging with people, but people know that you're engaging with their content and they'll reciprocate that back. Just like if I saw you at a networking event and I showed you some love, you saw my booth. Now it's time to show me some love. It's just how we are as humans. It's a good thing, right? So you have I would recommend that someone picks a platform, maybe two, and I would think about where are my customers at, and I would think about where is hopefully some good organic reach. So that's why LinkedIn's so special right now. It's because it's a great platform. It's a business-minded platform. A lot of your customers are here for B2B, and there's still good organic reach, and there still will be for a little while now. It's not as saturated as some of these other platforms. So pick one or two if you're not doing any now, let's say, and get really good at them, master them, learn the skills that you can then take those skills and transfer to other platforms. That being said, I would also still test and try and dabble and have a profile in 2 to 3 other ones. So for me, for example, I'm really active on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok would be my other two. Then I've also got a YouTube page, right? I've also dabbled in other types of content because I want to test and try different things. You may find a certain style works really well for you that you had no clue because that platform really doesn't do that style. A good example is I started doing TikTok videos. I got on TikTok and I was like, I don't think this is the best platform for me right this second. It could be, but I think right now there's definitely a great opportunity on LinkedIn. I know that. TikTok, I think, will be in the future soon.
Mhm.
But I got on TikTok and I started creating these TikTok skit style videos, and I edited the videos like just basic back and forth style on TikTok. I would screen record it and then I would post it on LinkedIn. So now I'm posting on LinkedIn or TikTok first and then LinkedIn, and people loved it on LinkedIn because it was vertical video. It wasn't a square box. It was different. It was edutainment. There was always a good message, but there was multiple characters, short form, and engaged the audience. And those did extremely well and landed me clients. But I would have never known that had I not gotten on TikTok and learned and upped my skills from different platforms. So go with one or two heavy, build a community, build an audience there, dabble in the others, and mix and match as you go.
Yeah, yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, there's a little bit of a fear of missing out, right? Which
Of
I
course.
tend to think that people, it gets them to maybe go too wide, but at the same time, if you just do simple things and see if what you're doing resonates on other platforms,
So
that can be
great.
really important.
If I could say one more thing, great point
Yeah.
on that. People do this is the on the flip side, they make the mistake of I need to be on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and I need to post every day. And unless you got a team or you really know what you're doing, you got the time, which most people don't,
Yeah.
you're going to end up being you're going to be shallow on a bunch of different platforms
Yeah.
instead of deep with depth on one or two where you can really make an impact and then scale to the other ones.
Yeah. 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 That's certainly that's the route I think that especially solopreneurs should take, right? Yeah. Try to
Absolutely.
get some depth and then spread from there.
Absolutely.
So how does one create a video strategy that includes rap battles, superheroes, and all the conversations with yourself that I always see you doing on LinkedIn, right? Like how was it really intentional to be so like diverse, or is it just you you kind of were like, we're going to do edutainment stuff. Let's have ideas of what people might kind of, resonate with and go from there, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, part of your content strategy and the way that you create content, it's almost like if you think about if you just took what your customers or potential customers cared about and you really got laser focused on that, you built a value around that, and then you filtered it through your brand and your personality and your natural gifts, out comes the other side, content. So I did the same thing. So the reason you see like our rap battles, business rap battles for everyone, of course not, right? There's things that people do on LinkedIn and TikTok that I wouldn't do because they're not my style, they're not my thing. But I've been rapping since and writing music since I was 14. So it wasn't like one day I was like, I'm gonna go create a rap battle out of nowhere. Like I knew music really well. I freestyled a lot. Like I've just rapped a trillion times. I used to do it every single day. Like I wrote all the time. I probably wrote, I mean, hundreds of songs and recorded them in studios. So I knew what I was doing getting into it, right? And I don't claim to be the best rapper or anything, but I think for LinkedIn it's all right, right? For business it's all right.
the
Yeah.
best rapper on LinkedIn, I think, right? You could claim that if you
So,
want.
but here's what I'll also tell you is if you would have told me 3 or 4 years ago that I would be creating business rap battles and posting them and winning business from them, because I'm literally winning clients every single time I'm posting these videos, I
Yeah.
would have told you, how is that possible? So part of my mission and my vision is to help create a world where people can see that, hey, I've got some gifts and talents and inner creativity. I need to figure out how I unleash this. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? There's actually tactical things you can do to unleash your creativity. Like think about things before you go to sleep. You're brushing your teeth and you're trying to just take your toothbrush. Now think of another word or subject or object that has nothing to do with that toothbrush. Where you're going to go toothpaste, you're going to go red. Your mind's going to want to correlate something with a toothbrush. Creativity is taking one random thing here and connecting it with another random thing, but you're fusing it together.
Hmm.
And that's where you get a business rap battle. So
Yeah.
there are things that you can do to actually build creativity. I'm really studying this because I'm interested in it and I want to help other people. But a lot of it is just testing and trying. I had to put myself out there. I had to open my mind up to say, I can do this. Like, let's see what people think about this. If they don't like it, I won't do it, right? If it doesn't hit for my audience, then I'll adjust. But I had to put myself out there. And as soon as I started doing it, people were like, this is freaking amazing. Like the rap battle on LinkedIn, like with business and like it was sales versus marketing and founders versus it was just, yeah, it really struck a chord with the audience because there was a great message in there, but it also was just, man, it was so entertaining. How could you not watch it? It was so different. And I just think part of marketing is you've got to be bold. You've got to be innovative. You got to, hey, you got to stand out. But when you scream, hey, and they finally get to you, there's got to be substance. There's got to be meaning. There's got to be purpose. But that is part of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. It can't all be flash, right? When they get there, there's got to be something to
Yes.
sell, right? Some
Yes.
substance.
But I think
But
people don't realize that you can actually teach creativity. You can
yeah.
actually work on being more creative. And again, it takes a few different things, but it's actually possible to become more creative. It's not just you woke up one day and you're creative, or I woke up one day and I'm not creative. I was born this way or I wasn't. Certainly, there's natural talents that we all have, but there's an opportunity for you to become more creative or really unleash the creative that you have inside of us.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a skill that you can ramp up, and that's a great tip, right? Just the word association type of thing can give you some crazy ideas. And the rap battle, I think, like my first thought was, how long did this take to write? But knowing that you've been rapping for years, like all of a sudden it makes more sense, right? And that's
Mhm.
like more of a personal thing to you. So if you've been
Right.
doing it forever, then it comes together easily, and it's like a glimpse into the more personal side. So, see, I
Well,
didn't know all that background, and that
it's
makes it even better.
Well, that's what's fun.
So,
That's what's
yeah,
fun about these talks is that you kind of get to peel back the layers, right?
yeah,
Like the same thing with like I had never done any acting or anything like that. I always was. I love telling stories, and I did theater for like a semester in high school, but it was never anything.
hmm,
And I just started to kind of say, I'm gonna do a skit. I'm gonna try to see if I can create a character and put that character in a scene with another character, and let's just see how it goes. I hadn't been acting for years. I haven't been I've never taken classes. I've never done
right,
anything. I never read a book on anything, but I just put myself out there and I learned I think I'm decently good at this. And then I kept building on it. But the first 10, 20, 30 videos I made where I was doing the acting and the skit stuff, they weren't very good, right? If you go back and look at them, they're just not that great. I got better at time. I got better because I've written, probably 1,000 scripts between me and clients, or a few hundred at least. So I've made a lot of bad ones. I made a lot of bad videos. I wrote a lot of bad scripts. I created a lot of videos. I literally got back from editing and I was like, I can't post this. This is just not good, And so it's like people don't see that all of that stuff. They'll just see a polished video today and they'll be like, wow, that's really cool. I don't think I can do that. Well, it's like, well, I didn't start doing that in the beginning.
Right. And that's the nature of social media too, right? Is
Yeah.
the more people engage with it, the more they like it, the more likely other people are to see it. So like
Right.
we've got a person in our group who talks about how YouTube specifically is a great place to put test videos, because if they're not good and people don't, or they're not creating the engagement, like people literally never see them. Right? So you
Yeah.
don't have to be scared about putting something out there that's not good, because
Yeah.
it's just if people don't engage with it, if it doesn't hit the mark, it almost goes away, right? Beyond
Yeah. Well,
somebody digging it up in the 20 years from now for some reason or something. But yeah,
yeah, it's in the
but
graveyard.
yeah,
I was doing dinner with somebody the other day and I was asking them about video. And he said, I'm not very good at video. Like I'm awkward. Like I'm not good on camera. It feels really weird when I hit the record button. And I'm like, okay, I understand. I'm like, how many videos have you made? And he's like, I think, well, really just like one maybe.
yeah,
And I'm like, so dude, how could you expect to be good at anything when you've done it one time? It's like when we're a baby, right? And we're first learning to walk, maybe that toddler age. Do we start walking right away? No, we crawl. Then we finally get up and we start holding ourselves up on stuff. Then we start to take a few steps and we fall down on our face and we get back up again. We fall down, we get back up again, we fall down. That's the process we go to. Do we ever think that I should be amazing at this day one? No. Do we ever fall down as a baby or a toddler and say, you know what, this walking stuff's just not for me. I'm gonna crawl the rest of my life. No, we keep fighting through, we keep battling
yeah, yeah.
through until we become successful. Video is no different than any other aspect.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I mean, I think it gets hard later in life, right? Like you're supposed to have all the answers as you get older, and people lose that, like, yeah,
Yeah,
ability
man.
to fail or be bad at something. And
I'm
it's
so glad you brought this up.
yeah,
I was on I gave a presentation yesterday, and someone said, "Hey, I'm 50. I'm in my early 50s, and when I'm creating content and put it out there, people are going to think, oh, who's this older guy creating content, trying to be like the younger folks." And I just shut it down really quickly. I was like, I understand where you're coming from, but that is all in your head.
yeah,
That is not the case. Like any successful person that's doing well, that is a good human being, I would never look at somebody that's in their 50s, 60s. I don't care if you're 90. I got more respect for you if you're 90 and putting out content. Like, and I also pointed to some of the largest, most successful business folks in the world. I mean, however you want to see that, like if it's Elon Musk, if it's Mark Cuban, if it's Gary's in his 40s,
yeah,
a lot of them are older, right? And older, like I'm not saying they're old, but they're not in their 20s or 30s, right? Or even
right,
40s. A lot of them are 50s, 60s, and 70s. Warren Buffett still puts out a ton of content and he's in his 80s, I think, right? So
yeah.
there's no age is a myth. That is not a thing that's in your head. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, purple, yellow. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything. If you can add and contribute value to your audience and your community, you will find a way to win over time. No question about it.
Yeah, and that's a common excuse, right? Like, well, you brought up the being on camera and just doing it once and not feeling comfortable. Like that's something within our video community we deal with a lot of the people who come in early on, especially, is that fear of getting on camera is like one of the biggest barriers.
Yes.
And if you can make an excuse that I'm too old or I don't have something to say, then like it makes it just a little bit easier to be like, yeah, that's the reason I'm not getting on camera, and you go from there. And it's yeah, that's
I mean,
it.
I
Oh,
was
go ahead.
nervous to make my first few videos. I
Yep.
literally, this was a few years back. I snuck into my corporate office at the time I was working in corporate America. I snuck into the office on a Saturday because I was so embarrassed that someone would hear me making the video. I mean, even my own, like my ex-wife at the time, I didn't even want her to hear me. I was that embarrassed. Now I'll shoot videos anywhere because I've done a trillion of them.
Yep.
But I snuck in the office. I started hitting record. And when a coworker comes walking in the office on a Saturday, I'm like, "Why are you here, dude? I'm trying to shoot these videos. I'm embarrassed. Don't look at me.
Yep.
Don't talk." And he comes in the office and I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep going. I saw him come in. His office is down the ways. And I said, all right, I'm gonna keep going. I press record. I got 20 seconds in and I'm like, I just can't do this. I know he can hear me. And then
Yeah.
I came out and he's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, myself. He's like, yourself. What do you mean? I'm like, no, I'm making videos, man. I'm gonna show them to our
Yeah.
clients and prospects and get people bought in before they become customers. It was a good idea, but I didn't follow through. And then I kind of got like, they made fun of me a little bit for it at a meeting,
Right.
and then I didn't know what I was doing. So I ended up giving up. And it wasn't years later until I actually began my true video journey, my content journey. But I just, yeah, I mean, I went through that stage too. So I do get it. I was embarrassed. I wasn't confident. It didn't come natural. Right. So you
Right.
have to be able to work through that just like any other skill that you want to get good at in life or business.
Yeah. Yeah. It always is going to take, yeah, it's going to take practice like anything
And
else. And
failure, and
that's,
you got to be willing to make mistakes. People are like, I put out a video yesterday about how I think videos are changing, the way we create videos are changing. And someone's like, man, you're leading the way, or your videos are always, good and stuff. And I'm like, I appreciate that, but that's only because I was willing to fail and try new things where most people weren't. I mean, I've tested
yeah.
and tried more videos on LinkedIn than any other creator on LinkedIn. I think it's a fact. I would put that.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. I've just done more styles than you could possibly imagine. Raps, freaking detectives, verticals, squares, no edits, edits. Like I've just done everything, and I've made and a lot of them didn't do well. A lot of
Yeah.
them did, right? But I learned, I made mistakes, I grew, I figured out what would work for this business and not this business, or vice versa. And so, if you want to get all time great at something, you got to be kind of obsessed with it. You got to just have a sickening dedication and work ethic. But you also have to say, I will be the person out of 100 people here in this room. I will be willing to fail more than anyone else here and be okay with it because I'll continue to grow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you got to be able to put yourself out there to collect that data, to know what works and what
Yeah,
doesn't. And, it's not always easy to do. Yeah.
it's not.
I always tell and it's on my LinkedIn profile somewhere, but like I started out in the video production industry doing motion graphics animation work. I was in an office with no windows, and like it was when I went out on my own that I was like, oh shit, I gotta actually talk to people. And like, we've kind of moved onward and upward to the point now where I'm putting out content to total strangers, which I wouldn't have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time you do it, it gets easier, and that's the message I'm always talking to the community about. And it's about shipping that first one and incrementally getting better until you're in a spot like you're in now, where you're making great content every day. You get huge engagement, and you generate clients out of it. So that that's the dream for a lot of folks. So
I
that's excellent.
I appreciate that. I heard the other not the other day, but I heard one time somebody say it's not that it gets easier, it's just that we get better. And it's such an interesting, like I know exactly what you're saying. I totally
Yeah.
agree, but it's an interesting perspective to say actually the what you're doing really hasn't gotten easier. It's still very hard for people that are just starting, but you've gotten so good at it that it now seems easy. And so that's kind of the mindset flip I like to say, is that
Yeah.
you've gotten so good that it seems easy, but really it hasn't gotten easier. You just got better.
Well, there's a bit of a personal growth mindset mixed in there too, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just as hard as the first time you did it. You've
You just know
grown.
what to do.
So
You've seen
yeah,
it. You've done it a million times.
that's
Yeah.
good. I might have to use that.
Yeah. I stole it. So it's not my original idea. I wish it was, but
Excellent. All right, I've got one more note on the kind of video strategy thing here. Do you have, if you were to tell somebody a super simple strategy for the listeners and viewers to make their first campaign, do you have anything that you
yep.
typically use? All right,
Yep.
let's hear it.
Yep. Go talk to your customers today. Ask them, figure out 10 good questions that they honestly have about your industry, your expertise. Pull out your phone and do 2 or 3 videos a week and just answer those questions.
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's
Simplest
excellent.
video strategy you'll ever get.
That's and that yeah, FAQ videos are a big thing, right? You can reuse those
Yeah.
videos after the fact, kind of
Yes.
share them with folks. And
And be honest, like, answer the questions that your customers really have. Like for
yeah,
me, like doing a post, like, should I hire somebody to help me with my LinkedIn? Do I really need video editing done? Like ask the questions that like challenge your business a little bit, but those are the
yeah,
real questions that your customers have. So if you just really focus on, again, customer centric, you're obsessed with your customers, you think about them all the time. And then you can follow that up by putting out content that they want to hear about, but maybe they're not asking and maybe other competitors are not talking about. If you're the one putting out that content, you're going to build so much trust and credibility. And they're going to know that, hey, I'm not here. I don't have some like ultra biased one side opinion because I do this. I'm literally answering questions. Like, I know my services are not right for everyone. I might tell people, like, look, you don't need my services right now. You're not in the place where it makes sense. It's not, you know what I mean? That's
Yep.
okay. Other people, it's like, man, you are a lot. We are aligned. Like, let's
Yeah.
do this. Like, we're ready to
Right.
take off in the rocket ship. So I think being just really transparent is key.
Yeah, and that yeah, transparency overall, right, is always the best practice, especially like we were talking about both of our business models are you I mean, you're going to deal with these people for a long your clients for a long time, and mutual success is the goal, right? You can't
Yeah.
just be like, yeah, here, sign on this dotted line, we'll get you in the door, and then like it's not the right fit for them. That doesn't serve anyone.
Well,
So,
here's what
yeah.
most people get wrong about social media and content. They think like, well, I'm going to get referrals. I like the human side of things. I do too. I love human interaction way more than I do social media. But content and social media gives you access to people and
Right.
potential customers. And then they become customers. And guess what happens? They start interacting with other people and they tell that other person about you and about the impact that you made on their business. So the social stuff is just a simple gateway to the real life stuff, to the referrals. People are like, I like doing in-person conferences and events. So do I. I love them. I'm flying down to Miami in a week and a half to do a big one.
Mhm.
But I still realize that behind the scenes now, before I go there, I'm interacting on Instagram with the pages, with the people.
Yep.
I'm engaging with people on their LinkedIn content about the event, trying to build relationships. I'm trying to take the virtual presence and bring it offline. So I love in-person conferences, but when I can go on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok and talk to thousands of people every day, or be in front of thousands of people every day, why would I not do that?
Right.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the one question that I use as a thread throughout every episode of this podcast, and it's called the Smarter Business Podcast. And the question is, what's one thing that you've done to make your business or a client's business smarter?
Well, I think, from a high level, it was just getting on LinkedIn and creating content consistently. I mean, I would just not be here. I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I didn't get on LinkedIn, 2 years ago and get serious about creating content, not every now and then or not when it feels good, and like just getting really consistent. So, focusing on a brand, I've just been very clear and I've talked a lot about this, but I truly believe when you have something that's worth, you stand for something, there's a purpose, there's a vision, there's a movement that people can get that they want to be a part of it. They can get behind it. I mean, I have so many people I've got on calls or customers of mine or communities, and they're like, man, I'm unleashing my creative. Like the fact that people know what that is, and you probably know what that means, right? Like
Yep.
without even me saying it, like that means something to me. Like I'm on a mission. This is more than just business and clients. I mean, I need this to grow and have more exposure and to deliver my message, but and to help impact more people. But to me, it's about so much more than just that. It's really about what can I do with this one life that I got? How can I impact as many people as possible? And I think about part of that is my why, that I felt I had all this potential and creativity and things I could share with the world that would help inside me for 30 years trapped. And I just don't want people to go their whole life have it trapped, because I know people do. I know people go their whole life and they never get to be themselves or really share what they've got. And I just want to help people get that out earlier. I want to help, change the world.
Yeah, and like the content you put out there is empowering to people to kind of reach that level too, you know. Some of the content you tell your own personal story, and other pieces are
Yeah.
just like, this could be you. Let's do this thing. And I think we're
Yeah.
at a really important spot in kind of business right now, where a lot of people are realizing, for whatever reason, that that if you're, it might be the time to take a shot, and you can live a very different life running your own thing versus kind of working for somebody else. So I think there's no better way than to close this podcast than with that statement from you. So thank you very much, Alex. It's been really great to chat with you, and I think everyone who has tuned into this episode, thank you for coming out to listen and or watch us. If you like the content, please subscribe and share this episode. Alex, it's great to have you.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.